tractors. I know a lot about John Deere. I love the company, but as you know, they've announced a few days ago that they're going to move a lot of their manufacturing business to Mexico. I'm just notifying John Deere right now. If you do that, we're putting a 200% tariff on everything that you want to sell into the United States.
John Deere announced it is laying off nearly 120 employees at a facility in Ankeny.
Deere and Company reported a net income of more than $2 billion for the second quarter after a 12% drop in revenue.
The company is responding to former President Donald Trump's threat to put a 200% tariff on products the company tries to sell into the U.S. Trump.
The John Deere dilemma, a battle over trade, tariffs, and the future of American agriculture. In the heart of America's breadbasket, John Deere, the iconic green and yellow titan of agriculture, has ignited a firestorm that's shaking the foundations of U.S. economic policy. The company's bold decision to shift a portion of its manufacturing to Mexico has not only raised eyebrows but also provoked a fierce reaction from former President Donald Trump, whose America First agenda once promised to keep jobs firmly on U.S. soil. Trump's response was swift and uncompromising, a threat to slap a staggering 200% tariff on John Deere products made south of the border. But this isn't just a corporate spat. It's a high-stakes showdown that could reshape the U.S. economy, challenge global trade dynamics, and hit American consumers where it hurts most, their wallets. A betrayal or a business necessity? For Trump, John Deere's move is nothing short of a betrayal. This is a company whose name is synonymous with American farming, its tractors dotting fields from Iowa to Idaho. To see it relocate production to Mexico feels like a slap in the face to the heartland values Trump champions. His proposed tariffs are a clear message: stay loyal to America or pay the price. Yet, John, I'm not here to tell you what to do, John Deere's leadership has argued, but we're moving to Mexico because it's the only way to stay competitive in a cutthroat global market. The reality is stark. In the US, labor costs are nearly double those in Mexico. With rising production expenses and fierce competition from emerging markets like Brazil, India, and China, where demand for agricultural equipment is surging, John Deere argues that outsourcing is a matter of survival. Staying put could mean higher prices for farmers, lost market share, and a weakened position in the global race. By moving some operations to Mexico, John Deere aims to keep costs down while maintaining its ability to innovate and compete. Tariffs, a double-edged sword. Trump's tariff threat, however, isn't as straightforward as it seems. While designed to punish companies like John Deere for abandoning America, such tariffs could backfire, dealing a blow to the very farmers and industries Trump claims to protect. Higher tariffs would likely drive up the cost of John Deere's equipment, making it harder for U.S. farmers to afford the tools they need to feed the nation. For an industry already grappling with tight margins, this could spell disaster. Moreover, retaliatory tariffs from Mexico could further disrupt supply chains, raising prices for everything from auto parts to avocados. The ripple effects wouldn't stop at agriculture. A 200% tariff could set a precedent, emboldening other countries to impose their own trade barriers. This tit-for-tat escalation risks igniting a broader trade war, one that could destabilize global markets and increase costs for American consumers. Food prices, already a burden for low-income families, could climb even higher, turning a policy meant to protect jobs into a tax on everyday life. The bigger picture, a shifting agricultural landscape. This clash between John Deere and Trump isn't just about tariffs. It's a microcosm of a profound transformation sweeping the agricultural sector. The days of manual labor and horse-drawn plows are long gone. Today, GPS-guided tractors, AI-powered harvesters, and drones monitoring crop health are revolutionizing farming. These technologies boost efficiency and yields, but they also demand massive investment. For companies like John Deere, staying ahead means embracing global opportunities, even if it ruffles feathers at home. Trump's protectionist stance, rooted in a nostalgic vision of American manufacturing, seems increasingly out of step with this reality. His policies hark back to an era when the US could dominate markets without global competition. But in 2025, that world no longer exists. Companies like John Deere are navigating a landscape where agility and adaptability are paramount. By expanding to Mexico, they're not just cutting costs, they're positioning themselves to meet the needs of a growing global population, projected to hit 10 billion by 2050. A global trade war looms. The John Deere saga is unfolding against a backdrop of escalating global trade tensions. Trump's broader trade agenda, including a jaw-dropping 125% tariff on Chinese goods, has sent shockwaves through the global economy. From electronics to home appliances, the cost of everyday products is climbing, squeezing American households and small businesses. China, in retaliation, has hiked tariffs on US exports like soybeans and beef to 84%, hitting American farmers hard. But the real wild card is China's holdings of $900 billion to $1.1 trillion in US Treasury bonds. A mass sell-off, dubbed a financial nuclear bomb by analysts, could send bond prices plummeting and yields soaring. For Americans, this would translate to higher borrowing costs. Think pricier mortgages, car loans and credit card bills. A weaker US dollar would also drive up the cost of imports, from fuel to packaged foods, further straining budgets. China, however, isn't immune to the fallout. Dumping US bonds would devalue its own reserves, and a destabilized US economy would hurt China's export-driven growth. Instead of an all-out bond sell-off, Beijing appears to be playing a subtler game, gradually reducing US bond purchases, diversifying reserves, and accelerating the rollout of the digital yuan, ECNY. Reports suggest the ECNY has already processed 1.88 trillion yuan in transactions across 200 countries, bypassing the US dollar and the SWIFT system. If these numbers hold, China is quietly laying the groundwork for a new financial order, one that could challenge American dominance. The Canada conundrum. The trade war isn't confined to the US, Mexico, and China. Canada, a key ally and trading partner, is reeling from Trump's 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum. Ontario Premier Doug Ford, a vocal advocate for business, has warned that these tariffs are crippling industries like beer production, which relies heavily on US aluminum. Small businesses, already battered by supply chain disruptions, face higher costs and shrinking margins. Canada's response has been measured but firm. Ford has signaled readiness to retaliate if the US doesn't reconsider, hinting at a broader unraveling of North American trade harmony. The fallout is already visible in tourism, with air travel between the US and Canada plummeting 70% compared to last year. Popular US destinations like Florida and Las Vegas are reporting sharp declines in Canadian visitors, threatening billions in hotel and tourism revenue. If tensions persist, the economic alliance that underpins North America could fracture, leaving all sides weaker. The human cost. At its core, this trade war isn't about corporate profits or political posturing, it's about people. American farmers, already stretched thin, face higher equipment costs that could force them to cut corners or scale back. Low-income families who spend a disproportionate share of their income on food will bear the brunt of rising grocery bills. Small business owners, from auto shops to breweries, are grappling with supply chain chaos and soaring costs. And ordinary consumers from Toronto to Tampa are caught in the crossfire, paying more for everything from smartphones to steak. The irony is stark. Policies meant to protect American workers may end up hurting them most. If tariffs drive up prices and spark retaliation, the US could face a self-inflicted economic wound, one that reverberates across borders and generations. For John Deere, the choice is clear: adapt or perish. But for policymakers, the path forward is murkier. Clinging to protectionism risks isolating the US in a globalized world, while embracing open trade could erode domestic industries. What's next? The showdown between John Deere and Trump is a pivotal moment for the US economy. If Trump prevails, protectionist policies could force companies to stay home, but at the cost of higher prices and lost competitiveness. If John Deere's gamble pays off, it could embolden other firms to follow suit, accelerating the globalization of American industry. Either way, the stakes are monumental. For now, John Deere is standing its ground, betting on a future where innovation and global reach trump isolationism. Whether Trump doubles down or rethinks his approach remains to be seen. But one thing is certain: the outcome of this battle will shape the US economy for years to come, with American consumers and their wallets caught in the balance. As the world watches, the question looms: can the US navigate this new economic frontier without losing its edge? Or will the pursuit of America first lead to a future where everyone pays the price? Ford's great escape: patriotism or pragmatism in a globalized world? Picture this: 2,000 jobs vanish overnight. a staggering $50 billion is rerouted. Ford, the automotive giant that's been the heartbeat of American industry for over a century, pulls the plug on its US factories and heads for foreign shores. No apologies, no negotiations, just a cold, hard pivot. Michigan, once the proud epicenter of American manufacturing, is left reeling. The question on everyone's lips: is Ford a traitor to the nation that built it, or a visionary fighting to survive in a ruthless global market? The breaking point: why Ford fled. Ford's decision to move production of its Focus, C-Max, and most electric vehicle EV lines overseas wasn't made on a whim. It was a desperate response to a perfect storm of economic pressures. Tariffs have driven up the cost of steel and aluminum, while lithium, crucial for EV batteries, has skyrocketed by over 300% from 2020 to 2024. With 80% of the world's lithium refined in China, US tariffs have hit Ford where it hurts most: the bottom line. Building EVs in America now costs 25% more than doing so abroad. For Ford, staying put wasn't just expensive, it was unsustainable. The company faced a brutal reality: compete or collapse. Ford's rivals, particularly Tesla, aren't just car makers, they're ecosystems. Tesla mines its own lithium, builds its own batteries, and trains AI for self-driving cars, all while bypassing dealerships to deliver directly to consumers. Ford, weighed down by unions, legacy systems, and bureaucratic red tape, was fighting with one hand tied behind its back. As one Ford executive put it, "We're not just up against a company, we're battling a whole new way of making things." Project T3, Ford's fight for the future. Ford didn't just pack up and leave, it struck back with a vengeance. Enter Project T3, a $50 billion moonshot to reinvent the company from the ground up. Partnering with BMW for cutting-edge solid-state batteries, Ford is building factories where robots handle 90% of the assembly. These aren't your grandpa's cars. They're EVs designed to run 1 million miles and charge in minutes. Forget showrooms. Ford's going digital, selling cars like Amazon ships packages. This isn't about building vehicles, it's about building a future where Ford doesn't just survive but thrives. The backlash was immediate. Former President Donald Trump, ever the defender of American jobs, branded Ford a traitor. He proposed punishing tariffs, blacklists, and even canceling federal contracts. But Ford's CEO, Jim Farley, didn't blink. His response was a gut punch. Do you want to lose 2,000 jobs now, or 20,000 in 5 years? It's a brutal truth. Ford isn't running from America, it's running towards survival. By sacrificing a symbol of the past, Ford is betting on a structure that can withstand the future. A new industrial revolution? Ford's gamble could be a turning point for American industry. If it succeeds, it might become the blueprint for a post-oil economy, where software engineers outnumber wrench turners and factories hum with robots. Plants are already springing up where humans are the minority, and Ford's hiring coders over assembly workers. They're not just making cars, they're redefining how cars are made, sold, and driven. But failure isn't an option. If Ford stumbles, it'll be a cautionary tale for every legacy giant clinging to the old ways. The stakes are sky high: adapt to a world of electric vehicles and AI, or fade into obscurity. Ford's not alone in this fight. Manufacturers across the US are grappling with the same brutal math. Protective tariffs, once a shield, now feel like shackles in a global market driven by rapid technological change. Ford's standing at a crossroads: embrace the future or die defending the past. The MAGA meltdown, a party in disarray. Ford's exodus isn't happening in a vacuum. It's unfolding against a backdrop of political chaos within the MAGA wing of the Republican Party, where internal strife is threatening to derail the US economy. At the center of the storm is House Speaker Mike Johnson, struggling to unify his party around a budget proposal. Key MAGA lawmakers, Andy Biggs, Chip Roy, Ralph Norman, and others, are in open revolt, slamming the plan as too timid to tackle America's ballooning deficit. The numbers tell a grim story. The Senate's budget proposal offers a measly $4 billion in cuts, while MAGA hardliners demand a staggering $1.5 trillion. This isn't just a policy disagreement, it's a full-blown identity crisis for a party that promised to slash spending and restore economic stability. The lack of consensus is pushing the US toward a fiscal cliff, with small businesses and everyday Americans caught in the crossfire. Tariffs and trust, a global backlash. Trump's trade policies, meanwhile, are adding fuel to the fire. His aggressive tariffs on China have sparked retaliation, with Beijing slapping 84% duties on US exports like soybeans and automobiles. The European Union and Japan, frustrated by inconsistent US policies, are questioning America's reliability as a trade partner. Sudden moves, like postponing tariffs on some countries while hammering others, have only deepened skepticism about Trump's leadership. The fallout is palpable. Small businesses, already battered by rising costs, are struggling to import raw materials. Consumers are feeling the pinch as prices climb for everything from electronics to groceries. And the public's trust in government is eroding as promises to lower living costs ring hollow. MAGA lawmakers are demanding bolder solutions, but the party's inability to coalesce around a clear strategy is driving the economy into a deadlock. The human toll. This isn't just about budgets and tariffs, it's about people. Michigan workers, once the backbone of Ford's empire, are facing layoffs and uncertainty. Small business owners, from auto shops to cafes, are grappling with supply chain chaos and shrinking margins. Families, especially low-income ones, are stretching budgets to cover rising food and fuel costs. And entrepreneurs, the lifeblood of the economy, are losing faith in a government that seems more focused on infighting than solutions. The irony is stark. Policies meant to protect American workers are hurting them most. Tariffs designed to bring jobs home are driving companies like Ford overseas. Budget battles, framed as fights for fiscal responsibility, are paralyzing the economy. And a party that pledged to put America first is struggling to deliver on its promises. A fork in the road. Ford's bold move and the MAGA party's implosion are two sides of the same coin, a nation at a crossroads. Ford's betting on a future where innovation trumps nostalgia, where global markets reward those who adapt. The MAGA movement, meanwhile, is clinging to a vision of America that may no longer exist, one where tariffs and tough talk can restore the glory days. The path forward is fraught with risk. If Ford's Project T3 succeeds, it could redefine American manufacturing, proving that pragmatism can be patriotic. If it fails, it'll be a warning to every company dreaming of reinvention. For the MAGA party, the challenge is even steeper. Unify around a coherent strategy or risk losing the trust of a weary public. As the US navigates this turbulent moment, one thing is clear: the old rules no longer apply. Ford's not waiting for permission to rewrite the game, and neither can America. The question is whether leaders, corporate and political, have the courage to embrace the future or the stubbornness to cling to the past. Workers, businesses and families, the answer will shape